This is the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Schola in the 3D Security and Training Academy studios.
You start banning guns and you start taking away guns from people who will use them responsibly and use them ethically.
As we enter August, many are still reeling from a July that included flags being blamed for shootings, justices acting as legislators, Chattanooga, a bad deal with Iran, and the evils of Planned Parenthood on display for all to see. The good news is there's hope. Today, a brilliant young man from Georgia proves that the future could still be bright. Middle schooler CJ Pearson joins us to talk about Obama and more. Sarah Palin has Georgia on her mind. The governor delivered a speech this past week to the great organization Southwest Christian Care. A brand new installment of Liberty and Legacy with Tamara Colbert is on the way from Texas. And just ahead, our latest edition of Steel Resolve with Sarah Steelman in Missouri. Welcome to the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. The Palin Update is sponsored by 3D Security and Training Academy. Learn more at 3dsta.com. He is a 12-year-old sensation named C.J. Pearson, a black middle school student in Georgia who's made waves through his online videos in which he has delivered a clear and heartfelt common-sense conservative message. And at a time when many are feeling pretty down about what some have been doing to our country, it is inspirational and encouraging to know there is a strong young man out there who hopefully will have a huge say when it comes to the future of our nation. CJ, welcome to the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. How are you?
Hey, pleasure to be here, Kevin. I'm doing great.
Hey, thanks so much for being with us. You know, you've really captivated a lot of people over the recent months, and your videos online have really spoken to a lot of people, and not just people your age, young people, but everyone across the board and from different political stripes. I got to ask you, how did you get your start doing this? Because a lot of kids your age, they're not doing this type of thing, that's for sure. A lot of adults aren't doing this type of thing.
You're completely right. Well, you know, I got my start in political commentary literally rolling out of the bed and speaking to the camera about how I felt about President Obama's love for America. And I answered in the negative. I do not believe that this president loves America. And I echoed my views. I spoke about what I believed about this president's love for America. And I believe that touched the hearts of many Americans. And that is the reason the video did so successful. They shared it because they didn't see love for this country from this president. So they shared this video. And that's how I got my start. And after that, I decided, you know, I want to be a voice for my generation. I want to fight for my generation. I want to give the hope and change that President Obama promised for my generation but didn't deliver on. I want to be that voice. I want to be that fighter for that hope and change. And that is why I've continued to speak up and doing what so many people either aren't willing to do or just don't want to do. I want to be a fighter, and I want to be a winner. I want to win the battles for my generation. I will continue to do that.
Now, speaking of your generation, a lot of kids, and especially black kids, are told Obama's a hero. How were you able to learn not only about all the issues that you speak about, but also see through the glitz and glamour and unveil his true colors on a lot of things?
Well, yeah, you're completely right. You know, Barack Obama is, you know, basically told to many, you know, black Americans that he is a hero. And, you know, I think there's two differences between a hero and an inspiration. I think it's inspirational, even, you know, being from a separate party, that he's the first black president. I just think that's really interesting. I think it's a really cool thing. But, you know, looking past race and looking past all of that, you know, I would much rather have a competent black president than a president who cares more about his own political agenda than making this country great again. That's what I would rather have. So I would have to say that, you know, looking past everything about that, I had to look past race. I had to look past the norms of, you know, of black America, you know, to support the Democratic choice. For me, I wanted the choice that, you know, believed in limited government. I wanted the choice that, you know, would further our liberty, that would, you know, basically they would stay true to the American people. And for me, that wasn't Barack Obama. And if you look at it, those are the foundational principles of the Republican Party.
And it's not just Barack Obama you've spoken about and have, you know, really enlightened a lot of people on, but Al Sharpton and Charleston and many other topics across the board. Where do you get your information from? Because a lot of people, unfortunately, get it from, Hollywood, or they get it from, say, The Daily Show or things like that. Here you are, well-read, but still, a normal child in America here. So how did you get this? And also, while you tell us that, what do your parents think of all this?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I get my information from a variety of sources. I'm not one to only read conservative publications. As much as I read The Blaze or as much as I read Fox News, that's just as much as I read New York Times and, the Boston Globe. So I'd have to say that, the information I get is a wide variety of things. And for me, it's just really looking at the facts, taking away the angles or the rhetoric or the left-leaning or right-leaning rhetoric, and looking at the facts of the issue. And usually when we look at the facts of the issues, it's still going to be the conservative choice, because there's a fundamental difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. The Democrats, they govern by emotion. They govern by what feels good. And the Republicans, we govern by what is the right thing to do. We govern by what the facts tell us to do, because that is what the best thing is. When you govern by emotion, they cloud your judgment, and that's how we got $18-20 in debt, because we govern by emotion. So, as far as looking at different sources, I'm definitely looking at, different, publications, different news organizations, and, really finding out where I stand on an issue. But as far as that, my opinions are very unique on a different wide array of issues, and they necessarily sometimes don't belong to one party. And to answer your second question about my parents, being from a separate party, they are Democrats. Their views are quite different from mine, to say the least. And, we have spirited debates around the kitchen table, and it's always quite interesting. It's always quite fun as well. And, we talk about the issues that matter. We talk about minimum wage. We talk about immigration. We talk about abortion, Planned Parenthood. We duke it out over the kitchen dinner. We literally had a discussion over Sunday dinner today, and it was great. It just makes me stronger in my views, and they leave away stronger in theirs. So I think it's a really fun experience.
Now, believe it or not, CJ, before you were born, these presidential races didn't used to heat up till the actual year that the vote was going to take place. But here we are in 2015 and looking at this 2016 race, and you've already declared, so to speak, your guy, Ted Cruz, Senator Cruz, who has had a wonderful relationship with Governor Palin over the years, and, talked about how much her endorsement helped him initially get elected to the Senate. I know they have a great relationship. And, one thing when you look at it from a Palin aspect that I love about Senator Cruz that we haven't seen from many others, including the RNC chair or Mitt Romney or many, they're afraid to share a stage with Governor Palin, worried that she's going to take away from them, whereas Ted Cruz has embraced her all the way, saying, look, we're on the same page here, let's fight together. And so that's why I like the man, and many other reasons. Out of this huge field of candidates, why is Ted Cruz your guy, and why do you think he'd be best for America in the White House?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think the reason that I'm all in for Senator Cruz is because I believe that we can't continue to nominate Democrat-like candidates and expect different results. We nominated Romney, we nominated McCain, and we lost each and every time. And for us to continue to think that, hey, if we continue to do the same thing, different results are going to happen, that's the definition of insanity. I think when it's time, the American people are ready for someone that's bold, someone with courageous ideas, someone that is cut from the same cloth as Reagan. And if you look at that, Senator Cruz has basically said stick it not only to the Republican establishment, but to the Democratic establishment as well, the entire Washington establishment, and he's continued to fight for our values. He was in favor of, he was against birthright citizenship before it was cool, before Donald Trump was, before, we started even talking about this issue. He's fought against our own party. He fought against the Democrats, and I think that's the one we need to do in the White House. We need someone who can relate to the American people and not the Washington elite. And that is why I believe, Senator Cruz is best capable of leading this nation, because he relates to the American people. As far as him being commander-in-chief, being a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, he's definitely capable of leading on day one, tackling many of the threats facing our nation as far as ISIS and abroad. He recognizes that America's place in the world is on the top and not on the bottom. We are not leading from behind in the Cruz administration. We are leading from the front. And that is something that is crucial for us to continue to live in a free and prosperous world. Senator Cruz agrees with that. He recognizes that need, while President Obama just doesn't. If you look at the rest of the field, you have the same type of candidate that Mitt Romney was, the type of candidate McCain was. If we continue to nominate the same people time and time again, we will continue to get the same results. It is time for something different, and it is time that we do something else. And Senator Cruz is way different than any other candidate that I believe has already declared to run in this race.
And Cruz has that background as a proven leader. He hasn't been in the Senate that long, but you look at his conservative rating, in the high 90s, where a lot of these other guys who've been there for years, that rating just looks like it drops the longer they're in Washington. He's really stuck to his campaign promises, and I think that's why Governor Palin likes him so much. Look at the people she talks about. She talks about Donald Trump and Dr. Carson. Why? Because they're complete outsiders. And then she talks about Ted Cruz. Why? Well, because he's an outsider, too, because he's a guy who went to Washington but actually does what he said he would do.
Yeah, it's different. And it's really sad that it is that way, that to be an outsider in Washington, you have to actually keep your promises. Who would ever think that? That to be an outsider in Washington, you have to keep your promises and run on what you said you would do. In 2014, we ran on against repealing Obamacare. We haven't made any moves on that. And it's extremely sad, because if you're going to run as a conservative, I want you to govern like a conservative. I want you to legislate like a conservative. Show me what you said that you would do. Show me. And that is one thing that Senator Cruz has echoed time and time again. If you're a conservative, stand up and show me. If you're against Obamacare, stand up and show me. If you're against illegal immigration, stand up and show me. And that is something that Ted Cruz has done, and he's led from the front. He's not led from behind. And many people, as they go in Washington, as they sit there for 10, 20 years, it becomes the norm. They're used to sitting on the sidelines, not leading in the front. And Senator Cruz, while some may say, he hasn't been there long enough, I think that's the asset to our campaign. He hasn't been there long enough because he won't be tainted by the Washington establishment. He is ready to start listening to the American people and leading our nation with the American people's needs and wants on his mind as he goes to govern this nation.
A few weeks ago, Bristol Palin talked about you in her blog. She said she loves your passion, called you a patriot. And to paraphrase, she basically said this kid has more common sense than all of Congress. When you first made these videos, you did it from the heart, obviously, and you still do. But, these accolades must be nice, too, with people talking about you in a positive manner.
Definitely. I'm a big fan of Bristol. I love everything that she does, and I was definitely rooting for Dancing with the Stars, so I'm a big fan for that. And so it definitely means a lot to me when she says these kind words, and it truly does mean a lot to me. Not only that they're resonating with some of the biggest names in conservative politics, but they're resonating with everyday Americans who understand that our best days are ahead of us. So, we can make our country great again if we start talking about the issues that matter, if we start speaking up and telling, everyone what we believe in. If we start leading on these issues, we can make our country great again. And that's why I'm in this. I'm not in here for self-aggrandizement. I'm not here for self-promotion, but I'm here to make our country great again and to be a voice for my generation and to make our country better for our generation, so that when we're ready to lead, when you're ready to take over on day one, we're capable of making our nation better for our children and so forth.